Alright guys, welcome to Code A. We are in our second round of 48 matches. I'm Wolf, with me is Caldor. Let's introduce these players.
Yeah, we're going up with a Terran versus Zerg today, and starting to the top right of the map in red, we have our Zerg player starting for GSL. This is Shine, ladies and gentlemen, and he's up against a player. Well, here we have a quick shot of Shine first. Really strong Zerg player. He actually lost to Paul in the third round of Code A last season. Cole advanced to Code S, whereas Shine had to play in the up and downs. Now starting at the bottom right, his opponent, the Terran player, the Kesper Terran. This is last.
Yep.
Starting for STX.
Yes, STX Seoul. Very long-standing StarCraft 1 team. Great team, actually. Not the best team as far as results, but definitely a strong team. Always was one of the teams that just stuck around no matter how poorly they did in Pro League, for example.
And a fun fact for you guys, we had already a match last against Shine in the Code A qualifier, but it was not the Shine that you can see in this match, of course. Last won the encounter with a 2-0 and was also able to take the Code A qualifier bracket, advancing to Code A. But the player Shine that he faced in the Code A qualifier, it was also a Zerg, but it was a Kesper player. He just shares the same name with the TSL Zerg, who just drops his 15 hatch standard play here from Shine so far. The first map in this best of 3 is Whirlwind.
Yes. And here is, of course, the command center first. This is a huge map, so anything other than a hatch first is extremely rare. Command center first is, not 100% standard, but what's really unusual here is that he's going for gas before barracks after his command center first. That's a bit risky. You can see now he doesn't even quite have enough minerals for his barracks just yet that he wants to put down. But he is going to put it down now as soon as possible, just to make sure if there is some sort of early pool or pool before hatch, he doesn't lose to any sort of that pressure that comes out.
A pretty greedy build. Really banking a lot on gas, on the tech, and on the economy. And just let's talk a little bit about Shine. Of course, we don't have too much information about last, since the Code A qualifier bracket was the first time that he really appeared in the GSL and has shown his skills. But taking this bracket alone is already a huge accomplishment. On the other hand, we have Shine, a player that has his best matchup against Terran. And the last Terran players that he played were actually Maru and Alive, both of them in the up and downs, and he was able to take down both Terran players. So a really good Zerg versus Terran player, and we'll find out if he is able to advance to the second round. Keep in mind that this is, of course, the first round of Code A. Therefore, every player who loses this best of 3 is dropping down to Code B right away.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about this lineup of matches is, as you guys probably saw from before we actually jumped into the game, everyone on the left side today is from the up and downs, and everyone on the right side is either Code B player or fell out of a seed. Our final player today got a seed into Code A, so we'll see how he does.
I'm really excited to see those Kesper players participate in Code A right now. It was really nice to see all of them already at the qualifier, but now they really have to prove themselves. Of course, we have a couple of Kesper players also in Code S. Rain makes such a huge splash in the StarCraft 2 community right now. He is just an amazing
You could call it a downpour, really.
Yeah.
A splash pad. It was like we had a thunderstorm. The psionic storm is quite good. That's why that died. But yeah, Kespa making their entry into the GSL as the transition to StarCraft 2 is complete. Brood War, is of course a game that will still exist, just not professionally in South Korea.
At this point in time, focusing a little bit more on the game at hand, we currently see the first few Hellions, something that has been discovered by Shine. He sent one of the Zerglings up the ramp and spotted, of course, the reactor and the swap. Therefore, he knows exactly that he has to deal with Hellions, the Roach Warren being one of the responses that he will throw down here. And we already have him with a third base. If you take a third base this early, you have a couple of different options how to deal with the Hellion pressure. You can go for the speedlings. A lot of queens in the early game are also one of the options. If you don't take gas, which Shine has already done, you will need up to 6 queens and a good creep spread in order to deal with the Hellion pressure, especially if you want to bounce between the natural and the third base. If you don't try to do that, speed for your Zerglings is really important, and the roaches that he already has indicate that he might actually be a little bit aggressive here. With 42 drones, he's not building any right now.
This is a pretty
supply block too.
Pretty quick Roach Warren, and yeah, his drones, rather the roaches, coming out here just as the Overlords finish. The Hellions are going to be denied by these Roaches, but at the same time they will see them, which will give him enough time to repair. He doesn't have very much up at home. In fact, he's cut Marine production out entirely, which does indicate that you know, it's possibly transitioned into a mech follow-up through here. He only has one Marine out right now, so even having extra bunkers up is not going to be very helpful. He's only going to be able to rely on these Hellions and the Banshee.
With 9 Roaches now on the map, there is a high risk for Last.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble if he doesn't see this in time.
The problem that he has to face right now, what he wants to do is he approaches the game as most Terran players in Korea will do right now. He banks his hopes on a Hellion and Banshee combination in the early game because he wants to just control the Zerg play, control the creep spread. But with all those Roaches around, Shine could decide to be a little bit more aggressive here, could try to put pressure onto his opponent. For now, he just uses the Roaches to be on the defensive. Oh, a lot of drones actually being caught off guard here. Yeah. Well, the Roaches are trying to deal with the Hellion threat, but at the same time, he needs Queens and Detection building the small crawlers right now because he needs to deal with this Banshee.
Yeah, so far, 6 workers already killed by that little harassment, and we do see the double armory coming down, so he is going to be going to that mech composition that I mentioned earlier, but you know, he has already made a ton of spore crawlers as well, and for that reason, he's really starting to get low on the drones here. Now, the Hellions are trying to do some more damage actually at the third base, but there's not really any drones over there for him to really hit, so at this point he's going to send the Hellions back. He's actually denying creep stride right now with his Banshees, not really heavily committing to the Banshees too much, just making sure that tumor can't be made. The drones can't really transfer safely right now. Very frustrating to deal with this. He picks up another drone, and Last is actually just really being so aggressive here with unit composition that's not that great.
There's a run by at the third base though. That's something that Shine has really done well. While the Terran tried to control his movements, Shine sent a few Zerglings over to the third base, and they are still there doing damage, taking down the first SCV and forcing now the Hellions back. Of course, there are only a couple of Zerglings, therefore Shine can't really make sure that the command center itself dies, but he uses all these distractions to send a link that we've just seen into the main base of Last. So a lot of scouting information for Shine. He knows about the third, he knows about his opponent's movements in the main base, he knows that there's going to be some kind of mech transition already, so a lot of information that he can use right now to plan his next step in the game.
Absolutely. You know, he saw that early on with the Overlord, that command center, and was able to punish a little bit, but Last has just been so aggressive with these Hellions. I mean, he's facing how many Roaches in total right now? 9 still, I believe. Yeah, 9. And still has managed to kill so many drones. There's a stacked up group of them right now. The Hellions come in. The Roaches were out of position. He could get so many more, and he does.
Goes straight for the drones at the same time. The Roaches trying to trap the rest of the Hellions and taking down quite a few of them. But Last, in total, already took down 20 Harvesters.
Yeah, a great position to be in right now. The Harvester count's still, of course, better for the Zerg because of that Larva mechanic, but he doesn't have very much army out. He still only has those Roaches. He made 1 more. He went up to 10 Roaches. He's got a few Lings on the map, but the composition his opponent is making is going to be extremely tough to deal with. He's already getting those 1-1 upgrades out for his mech units. He's got the third base up and secured now. And how can Shine really pressure this base? That's going to be a pretty tough... he's going to have to make a tough decision. Do I take a 4th base right now and start to use my Mutalisk to harass? Do I try to go up to Hive Tech?
Look at the count, by the way. Look at how many Mutalisks that could potentially be. 12 Mutalisks if he wants to. There are 11 already, and this can do so much damage because what Last did was invest a lot of gas into Banshees, and he only has 1 core right now. He's pressured by the Zerg player. The Roach is going in, the Zerglings as well. So many Banshees, and the Mutalisks will be perfect to deal with the Banshees. And you have to keep in mind, with 1 or 2 Thors around, magic boxing will be so effective.
Oh, absolutely. If he magic boxes on top of those Thors, the Mutas will be able to take them out, or at least trade efficiently. But the problem, of course, becomes another problem. That was just one of many problems that Last may have to face, is he doesn't have any turrets up, and I don't believe... Okay, so he did make the eBay. He does have the ability to make turrets, but he just hasn't done so yet. And if he's out of position with those Thors, he can lose a lot of workers as well. Here come the Banshees in. They're actually cloaked right now. If he finds them with the Mutas, that's going to be a tragedy.
The Mutalisks are at the bottom right, though. They're heading straight for the main base. Once again, the Hellions are moving in, trying to take down the Harvesters, but here are the Banshees. A huge threat to the economy for Last, and he's losing quite a lot of SCVs while doing a lot of damage at the third base of his opponent.
Yeah, both players actually harassing each other quite well right now. An armory may go down, which will actually limit the plating. He pulls a ton of SCVs off, and he will save it, and the Thor shots here are decent. The Mutas have to retreat. A lot of workers lost for both players. The Zerg player is still up, though, 65 to 55 here, and his +1 for his Roaches is completed, and he's continuing that Roach production because he knows he needs it to deal with the Thors.
And now, of course, the Banshee's also retreating. And guys, if you don't know what magic boxing is, hold that Thor, a nice pickup at the siege tank here. But you can see how much damage those Thors dealt when the Mutalisks are clustered, because the Thors do a little bit of splash damage. But if you move your Mutalisk on top of those Thors and then you press the stop button or hold position, they will fan out just a tiny little bit, and then the splash damage won't affect you anymore, so you can take down the Thors without getting too much damage dealt by the Thors themselves. So something that you really have to do. One of the things that Idra first started to do in televised matches.
Absolutely, yeah. He was one of the first ones, and the Mutalisk control here is just so good by Shine, picking off siege tanks. He does end up losing one there to a Thor. You guys didn't see it on screen, but being able to pick off those siege tanks is so great. You want to stop a meching player from reaching that max, because he's not going to move out until then. And if you can keep denying him to getting to that max, then you can tech up back at home, continue to harass. Look at this, he's actually going to try to pick off another siege tank. Point defense drone is up, though.
Yeah, and a lot of Mutalisks are damaged and already killed. The Roach is trying to move in right now, and they have a good chance of actually doing a lot of damage here. The Mutalisks are still active, trying to take down the supply depot to grant access for the Roaches into the main base, and that's exactly where the Roaches are heading right now.
Yep, and they are going to be able to do a lot of damage to the workers if they want to. They could instead go for the armories. Looks like he's going to go for SCVs instead here. Turns around with that Thor that just spawned. He gets a turret on the edge, and a lot of damage is being done here, but Shine is also losing a lot himself. He's dropping the supply quite significantly, but picking up these mech units, as I said, is so important. You do not want that Terran player to reach max.
At the same time, we have an interesting transition for Shine now. He's just hoping that his Zerglings will do a lot more damage now that he's realized that there are not a lot of Hellions. And there isn't even a blue flame upgrade, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that last researched it.
Yeah, he didn't research it yet. I just saw his Hellion shoot at some lings, and they were still regular red flames. And this situation is so unique because I feel like most people always do continue to produce those Hellions to get that blue flame, but he's just been making Banshees instead. Now he's reproducing some Hellions as he realizes what's going on. 3 at a time being produced here. But the Banshee count is also starting to get a little bit high. He's now got 6 with the 7th on the way.
And just looking at this game, we have a really interesting Terran versus Zerg. We have Laz playing a very solid game, just a very solid macro game into mech. Does a great job with a lot of Banshees, trying to pay attention to his economy as well now that the Mutalisks are out on the game. And Shine playing it a little bit TSL-esque. He's actually going for this Linge Muta Baneling composition in addition to the Roaches as a counter to mech in the mid-game, but he transitions too high. He gets his 4th base, he even builds a 5th right now. So a very, very strong macro game that we've seen from both players so far, with a great harass by Last.
Yeah, right now there are 12 Banelings morphing. I'm trying to find out exactly where they are.
Well, they're at the ramp.
Okay. So, alright, that makes sense. I thought it was possible he tries to go for some sort of Baneling sneak by or kill some depots, but 4 tanks now being produced at a time. And as a meching Terran against the Zerg, you always have to decide what sort of composition to build, because once you're maxed, you don't have the ability to make more units. You can't just exchange them. They're too expensive. They take too long to build. So if you have too many siege tanks, for example, then Mutalisks and Broodlords are a big problem for you. But if you have too many Vikings, if you have too many Thors, then Roaches could be a problem. So it's always tough to figure out exactly how to build this 200-200 army.
I'm really impressed of how Shine plays this game right now. He's taking a base after base. He controls the left side of the map with his units with the run-bys. But Last, on the other hand, he is going for a lot of sensor turrets. He wants to know about the movements of his opponent. He wants to know about Roaches, Zergling run-bys, about the Mutalisks that still have a presence on the map. And he's actually heading into double additional starport now as he realizes that the transition into Broodlord is happening.
The Roaches don't know how to approach exactly. I mean, if you have usually a small number of Banshees you can fight, these Hellions are going to be decimated by the Banelings. They do get a few good shots off, though. Doesn't matter as the Banelings all do connect. The Roaches actually come from the south, and Shine getting a decent trade here. He's already been able to remax, essentially.
He's going straight for 62 Zerglings. He knows that there are no Hellions anymore, so decides to just use all his lava to go into a Zergling composition so that he can take down the Thors and the siege tanks. A great decision here.
Yeah, a few investors added in as well to help deal with these Banshees because they are great damage dealers right now. Here come the Lings. They're engaging into a choke point, but I feel there's just too many of them.
Exactly, the Thors just can't deal with them. Neither can all these siege tanks because there are just too many. And now we have Corruptus also in the equation that take down the remaining Ravens and also a good shot at the Banshees.
And he does finally get through here with the few Corruptors he's got, and he will take out the final Banshees if he can chase with the Overseer.
There were 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, and actually some of them will still survive. Some Hellions come in here as well with a few siege tanks just on a rally. He needs to pull those back. But Shine has basically every base. He's got the top 2 bases as well. He can just send drones over there whenever he feels like it. Finally, we see that Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade coming out, so those Hellions can do the extra damage as he realizes he does need it. Banshee's going to go for some harassment here. Looks like he's going to target down the hatchery, and I love this choice because this is one way he can really maximize the damage the Banshees can do and limit his opponent's mining at the same time.
It's a great choice by Laz. He knows that just turtling is not an option any longer. With Shine having the entire map and maxing out his upgrades, he needs to do some damage, and him using all of those Banshees in order to take down a base is just so smart. And he will most likely be able to take down another one, already aiming for the hatch.
Yep, meanwhile down at the south, we actually have an attack with Roaches, but a few siege tanks and the planetary will pull them off. And he chased with the Corruptors onto these Banshees. Doesn't matter though, the hatchery will still fall. He does not, however, know about the hatchery to the top left, so he's not going to be able to go and kill that one. But that one is so far away, Shine is going to have to send his drones super far, and he will likely be spotted if he does so. So he's going to take a bit of a risk if he does that. Right now, the income of the Terran player triple that of the Zerg, because the Zerg player is long distance mining. He has not sent his drones to that critical top left base.
It's actually a really cool game that we see right now. I really love what we have here. It's a huge macro game and both players are giving it all their best. We have 6 Corruptors on the map, and this is one of the reasons why Laz goes for a lot of Vikings now, but it's a little bit more of a trap here because so far Shine, yes, he has the Greater Spire, but he has no ambitions of getting the Broodlords just now. Only 2 morphing. The main part of his army still consists of Infestors, and even though those Vikings will be good against the few Broodlords that he's building, there will be too many of them. He already has 6 Vikings, he builds another 3, and he will probably not stop at that. Well, we already have 7 Infestors, we have 2 additional Infestors being built, and I don't think that all those Vikings will be all that useful. Not if Shine doesn't suddenly build another set of Corruptors and goes for at least 10 to 12 Broodlords.
Yeah, you're actually right. And the situation at the top left base is, I mean, it's still not being mined from. A few drones roosting over there. They were killed by Hellions, and the Banshee is starting to become very annoying over here. The likelihood here, unless he makes like one Muta and goes to kill that Banshee, the Banshee will actually kill that base. So I guess he could send a Corruptor over there. He doesn't have any Corruptors on the map right now. He's just making 2 more. But the Banshee's probably going to kill that base, and that means the Zerg player is starting to get a little bit mined out here, whereas the Terran last is moving his extra command center down to another expansion right now. He is slowly approaching Remax. It's all going to come down to engagements very likely here. The Zerg player really needs another expansion. He's got a few bases close by he could take. He just hasn't yet.
You know, Shine is going for more Corruptors right now, and he wants to play this composition. But the thing is, with all those Vikings that Laz is currently building, if not for some great fungals, he might be able to take down this army. But at the same time, he doesn't really have a lot of ground army.
Yeah.
Well, he has some units, but only, for example, once again, 3 Hellions. So a lot of Zerglings will finish this ground army off with all those max upgrades that he has. So if he is able to build up a bank, then suddenly he will be able to transition immediately, and the Terran player won't be flexible enough to counter that. But that's exactly the reason why Laz is attacking so much, that he tries to shut down the income. And you can see that Shine currently is not able to build up this huge bank. So this will prevent him from switching into another composition like that.
You're absolutely right. He even remade that hatchery at the top left that costs a lot of money. Look at all the long distance mining that we are seeing on screen. If these drones get countered by this army that's moving over to that hatchery, this could be devastating. I think he'll react in time. He's moving his army over there now. Like you said earlier, it's all going to come down to the fungals on the Vikings. They're all clumped up right now, but he's getting great hits up on the Broodlords.
A brilliant fungal, and he can just chain fungal all these Vikings and take them down. The Broodlord count, of course, is dropping as they're still in range. Where's the last fungal? He doesn't get it off.
All those units in the red. One more fungal would have killed 90% of them, if not more. And the Thors, of course, are still alive here. The Roach count is pretty low. I mean, comparatively, when you're facing a mech army, you lose your Broodlords like that. He's only got 18 Roaches on the map. And the Broodlords, they fell, a lot of them. He did get some good fungals, but the Vikings survived. As you said, he just did not get that last fungal off. No repair on the Vikings, though, so these queens actually on the ground can start to take them out.
At the same time, another base to the top left for Shine, but also last expanding once again. Another fungal would be gold here. If he's able to get another fungal into the Viking flower, then suddenly everything will just die. But we have such a huge army for last now. 136 supply against 114. The Terran player doing a great job here, but a counterattack is trying to head for his third base, which is immediately repelled by a wall and a few remaining. And then planetary. Yeah,
he's got planetary, a siege tank there as well, just making sure that he is defended. I'm really scared for these Vikings, man. They are so low on hit points. If one fungal hits them, they're all going to die. Now the Corruptor count has been remade. He's got about 15 of them out on the map right now.
Position is everything now for the Terran player. If he has a siege tank set up well, then the Infestors won't be able to engage. And here we go. So far, we don't have a single fungal.
He needs that fungal.
Infested Terrans.
But he can't approach because the siege tanks are in position. And the point defense zones actually allowed him to keep those Vikings alive and try to fight with Corruptors. This base will fall.
He sends a few Infested Terrans and he wants to buy the time and damage. Here comes the fungal. But the fungal is not good enough. Taking down a couple of those Vikings, but not all of them. Now another attack. This might actually help him to push through, but Last is in a huge supply lead now, 30 supply ahead of his opponent, doing a great job. The reinforcements already rallied across the map.
One siege tank takes out the hatchery to the top left as well, so he loses that. A lot of income lost here with these two hatcheries being gone. He is remaking hatchery to the bottom right, but he's got no bank. His gas is so lacking right now. He needs more gas to make these expensive gas units. He needs to fight this mech army.
At the top left, the drones took down the siege tank.
Oh, he lost all his drones, though, to Hellions. They were all lined up. You guys didn't see that, but I think I just saw like 30 drones die in 1 second. Yeah. He's now down to 50 harvesters.
82
oh my god.
workers killed at the top left. After the hatch was killed, the drones took down the tank and then we're heading to the right side of the map. Ran straight into 3 blue flame Hellions. 1 shot and everything was gone. Green barbecue at its finest. Really well done here by Last.
That was actually... I think the Observer decided that they didn't want to show it to people because it was pretty graphic.
Yeah, we don't know if there are any children watching right now. It was just too much of it.
It was certainly something that most people should not see. Grown men should not have to look at that. At this point, the supplies are fairly even, but composition-wise, Last is looking better and better. He's making 3 more Thors here. His Viking count, though, has stifled a little bit now, down to 7. But since the Zerg player doesn't have a bank to remake Corruptors, it's not really that scary for him. The Terran is mining, and Shine is not, to put it quite simply.
Nice action here by Shine with the Infestors, taking down a lot of Harvesters. And I have to say that I'm really impressed how Last approached this mid-game, because in the late mid-game it really looked like Shine had just a grasp on this game. He was dominating everything. He had the entire map covered with bases. But then those Banshees really proved to be useful, taking down 2 bases. And Last really just pushed forward and took his chances, had great positioning with the siege tank, was able to keep the Infestors at bay, his Vikings alive. Could have repaired them, but it was still enough what he did. And now he's ahead in supply overall. Shine's still not out of the game, but it's just really impressive how Last approached this.
Yeah, it is, and he's gonna face a roach attack here. It looks like the roach is just barely having enough DPS to take out that planetary. He needs to be doing little things like this, like trading maybe 3 or 4 roaches for a planetary, because he has no mining and the Terran does. That's the bottom line here. He's long distance mining all over the map. Hellions find a few more drones to the north. He has not remade the hatchery. He's got that hatchery at the bottom. Very few drones there actually right now. It looks like only about 10 or 11 drones mining minerals over there. He's got to send more. He's got to get those gases up, because if he does not, the mining of the Terran plus the fact he's already built up a larger army is really going to hurt him.
On the other hand, we have now still a few Infestors on the map, 10 in total, 4 Brood Lords. And the one problem that Last has is that his SCP count is constantly dropping as Shine does a lot of damage. Picks off another 2 tanks in the middle of the map. He has certainly not given up. He's not out of the game at all, but this is a very, very exciting match. Both of them with really refined strategies, doing a lot of macro harass here, always trying to control the map, trying to go for run buys at the top. We still have a couple of units for the Terran player, who's trying to take down this base at the right side of the map. The lifeline for Shine, and he defends it with everything that he has, trying to get the bundles in and the infested Terrans, but the siege tanks are in position.
The siege tanks are in position. He can't fumble the Vikings, so he cannot fight with his Corruptors. The Thors doing some extra damage as well. That was the bundle he needed, though.
Not the bundle he deserved, but the bundle that he needed, exactly. And the last one takes them all down. The chain bundle.
That's game-changing, but
Yeah.
a lot of the Broodlords already fell. He only has 2 left. They're so low on hit points that the Thor could kill them, so he has to pull them back here, but he's still mining. That's the most important part.
That was crazy. He lost so much supply at this point. He's now down 30 supply, the Terran player. He should have tried to spread his Vikings a little bit more, then he might have been able to make this work, especially with the tanks in position. But Shine, this time, he really saw his chance. He went in triple fungal everything, took down the Vikings. Job well done. At the same time, we still have him harassing his opponent's economy with roaches all across the map, with a couple of infestors still borrowed, still trying to go for infested Terrans. Once again at the bottom left, and
pull his
roaches
SCVs.
going into position. This is horrible for Last. He needs this income.
He needs it really badly. The Roach is just camping behind the mineral line there. He did not actually research high-sec auto-tracking for that. Ibix's cannon on the planetary can't hit those roaches, and, you know, at this point, Shine is just really starting to pull back into this because he took out those Vikings, he's controlling the mining at that base. He could make another hatchery now. He's got map control. If he makes a hatchery to the north again, there's not going to be a lot that Last can do to pressure that. He has to be stuck on the defensive on his mining base to the right, which is getting low on minerals, and to the bottom left, where he can't even afford to send units to save his SCVs. They can't mine from it. What good is a planetary if you can't use it?
Shine was finally able to put his opponent into the defensive. So now suddenly Last is the one who sieges up, who tries to defend his mineral line at the bottom right because he wants to get this additional income. But they're just units all across the map trying to dominate map control for Shine, taking down Hellions, taking down siege tanks, whatever he can find. And as you already pointed out, Wolf, at this point in time, he can expand again if he wants to. He's at 150 supply. He has the economy and the army that he needs. He can just make sure that he has the better income throughout the entire game, or try to just build up one huge army that might be able to crush Last.
Yeah, he's just being so cautious right now. He's only mining from the base he has. He doesn't want to take the risk of making another hatchery, especially with the possibility of Hellion run-bys. Now he drops the hatchery up to the top center, which I think is a great choice, because that's the best mining you could get right now. That base was never used.
Already been spotted though. The Hellion knows it's there. We have another scouting barracks that's been taken down by Corruptors, but at the bottom left, all these SCVs, they are dying. There's nothing that Last can do about it. He just can't send any units to the bottom left.
Yeah, he can. And he can't send any units to the hatchery. Just because you know it's there doesn't mean you can stop it all the time. He's now moving out with his army, which is actually very dominated by Vikings at this moment in time. There are 31 roaches on the map, though. He's got to get these siege tank volleys off really, really well, but the bundles are good. I think there's too many roaches. All the infested Terrans come down as well. His army will be surrounded and killed.
There's nothing left anymore. He even uses the few Vikings in assault mode, but everything just dies.
GG.
GG. And Last loses game number 1. A really back and forth game with a lot of comebacks, a lot of small mistakes by the players, which made this game really interesting.
Yeah, it was actually so interesting to see how Last was so aggressive in the early game. That was my most exciting moment in this game, was when he was using the Hellions against that many roaches and was still able to make them work, able to do damage. Then with the Banshee, his multitasking was insane. He was able to stop creep, kill queens, kill drones, and also even use them later on, continue to produce them. Before he even went up to 7 or 8 or even 9 there at the end, he was using them to kill hatcheries on the map, be very map aware. And I think his multitasking with those early game units was insane. A bit better Viking splitting, I think, would have really helped him. Maybe some repairs as well. But Shine, in the end, was just too much for him. He overwhelmed him. That one engagement at the last mining base of Shine, not to be confused with the name of the player Last. That base over at the 3 o'clock position was so critical, and when he won that engagement, that was where the game really ended for Last.
Yeah, I really think that Shine has had his best points in the mid game itself, when he just expanded over and over again. He had a hard time against the Banshees. The Banshee count for Last was kind of insane. He was at 7-8 Banshees in the mid game, and even with the Corruptors present on the map, it was really hard for the Zerg player to negate those Banshees. So in the end, he lost 2 bases to them. And this was exactly where things went a little bit sour for Shine. He didn't have the income anymore to really supply his army to get all those upgrades, and the army supply as well. So against Mech, a really, really tough composition that Shine had to face here, but he did well. Last, though, with a very nice performance here, definitely on eye level on Whirlwind. Now we're heading into map number 2, which is going to be Daybreak, another Terran versus Zerg between Shine and Last.